This is like in the way of my drawing. That's the only problem with this what I'm doing right now. Oh, there, it's gone. Okay. All right. So the next thing you want to do is draw a line down the center of the head. So you can use a ruler to do this, or you can just kind of eyeball it. So this line is going to help us understand that the head is, in general, symmetrical. So I'm just drawing a line down the center to help me make this symmetrical. And again, I'm not measuring it. Is it 100% perfect? Maybe not, but. So this is to help us draw things symmetrically. The next thing, you don't have to label this at all, although I would like you to label the bottom here so I write my name, Miss B. The next thing that I most frequently see people get incorrectly is the eyes. Your eyes are about halfway down your head. Now, I think it's confusing because if you look at, you're looking at it in a mirror, if you look at me right now in my little camera, but if you were to look at my bangs and then measure from here to here, yeah, my eyes don't look like they're halfway down because you're looking at my bangs, right? But the top of my head is actually right here, right? To the bottom of my chin. If you got rid of that hair, all the hair that's getting in the way of you seeing clearly, your eyes are actually halfway down on your skull here. So when you go to draw your line, and again, you can take a ruler if you want or just kind of eyeball it, but halfway. This is something I'd say the most frequently made mistake that I see amongst my students is that they make the eyes way too high up. I'm even going to take a ruler here because I just want to make sure my measurement's right. I trust my judgment, but I don't know. I just want to double check this one. So if you want to take a ruler and check too, you can. I'm not going to be taking a ruler and measuring yours or anything, but it's more just for my own knowledge. I want to make sure I got this right. Let's see. So I made my head about 8.5. So yeah, my eyes would be at about 4.25. Wow, okay. I am actually like spot on. That makes me feel better. Okay. Sometimes it's like, what? Are your eyes really there? But yeah, they're really there. This also will help you to make sure that the eyes aren't crooked by having this straight line. So when we go to start our self-portraits, I'm going to ask you to grid out first, and then go and look at your, go in and develop the details. The next thing that you're going to draw is a line about halfway between the eye line and the bottom of the chin. This is going to be the bottom of your nose and your ears. So you can see I've done that over here actually on this previous drawing, right? So down here is where your nose ends, and then your ears also end about there. That's another thing that people do incorrectly. They make their nose is way too small. So again, if I want to be really specific here, I can even take my ruler and I can see that this measurement is about 4.25. So I'm going to mark a little bit less than 2.25, like probably about here. So this measurement here is the bottom of my nose. And this is also going to be where my ears end. So I can write that my ears, your ears generally start about at the middle of your eye and they end around the bottom of your nose. So you can even make a really simple ear shape. So feel your ear, and you can even take your ear and kind of make a line all the way to your eye and see, oh yeah, my ear kind of comes up to my eye, and then go down to the bottom of your ear, and you come straight out, and you can feel that it comes to about the bottom of your nose. So your ear is actually bigger than most people make it. And again, I'm not worried about you drawing perfect ears. I just want you to show me that you understand where it goes. Okay, and then also you're going to want to mark out that your nose and the writing can go just on the side is fine. And I'll show you how to figure out how big to make the nose in a minute, because there's also measurements that can help you to figure that out as well. So at this point, you should have a line for the eyes, a line for the nose. You should have the ear pretty much figured out, because that's going to be where the eye is and the bottom of the nose. The next measurement is going to be the center of the lips. The center of your lips is a little bit less. If you look here, it's a little bit less than halfway between the bottom of the nose and the bottom of the chin. So what you're going to do now, you've got your nose line. You're going to make a line, again, a little bit less than halfway. So right here is my lips. And again, don't worry about how big to make that yet. I will discuss that in a minute. So you can come over here and just write mouth. And that's the center of your mouth. It's not the top, it's not the bottom, it's the center. I'm cleaning up this line. I don't like how crooked it got. So just make a line. Has everybody got that far? Okay. All right. The next measurement I want to talk about is your eyes. Generally, if you look here, here's my finished drawing. Your face is 5 eyes wide. And you can fit an eye, in general, 1 eye width between your 2 eyes. That's another thing that people do incorrectly. They put their eyes too far apart. They make them way too small or too big. So that's one way that you can help figure out where the eyes go and how far to space them. Also, the line that you made, that's where the center of the eye goes. Okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to come over here, and again, if you want to take a ruler, you can, or you can just kind of eyeball it, no pun intended. So try to figure out, how can I fit 5 even eyes? They should be the same size eyes, right? I don't think I gave myself enough room. You can even draw a simple eye and kind of use that same. And remember, between the eyes, you can fit 1 eye. Oh, see, I made that one too little on the end. So now I got to go back and maybe shrink all the eyes down a little bit. So if you can't fit 5 eyes, equal eyes, it might mean that maybe you made your eyes too big. Again, you could measure this out if you want. But for today's activity, like I said, you can just generalize a little bit here. So I'm going to shrink the eyes a little bit. Okay. So that looks pretty good to me. And now you can draw a really simple eye, just that kind of almond shape. And you can also write eye off to the side. And again, you should be able to fit about one eye in between and on either side. This side's probably a little too big. If one of your sides looks a little too wide, you can always shrink the head a little bit too. So that side of my head is maybe just a little too wide there. All right. So the other item that we can draw is our iris and our pupil. We're not going to draw it in detail right now, but it's going to help us to figure out where other measurements are. So if you look here, you can see that the very corner of my eye, if you take a line and go straight down, so if you actually take a, you probably don't want to stick your finger in your eye, but if you were to take your finger and kind of touch like where the corner of your eye is and you go straight down, you'll hit your nose. So as you can see, that's going to help you figure out how wide your nose is. That's another one that I see people making way too small. They give themselves like these tiny little noses. You want to make your nose proportionate. It shouldn't be too small for your face. So you can now take and make a dotted, if you want to make a dotted line, and that's going to be, and then you can make yourself a little nostril if you want, just by making a little line there. That's going to be the corner of the nose. You don't need to label it as long as you have that dotted line. And you can do that on the other side too. So if you take a line from the corner of your eye, okay. So I'm drawing a very simplistic nose right now. Of course, the nose isn't this wide throughout. It's just the bottom of the nose, right? Your nose typically comes in a little bit here, right? Just so you know. You have like the bridge of your nose, but the base of your nose is where it gets wider, where your nostrils kind of flare out. And I might have even made that a little too wide, the bridge of the nose. Typically, for a lot of people, it's more narrow. Okay, but as the nose comes out, it flares out where your nostrils are. So that's a helpful way to figure out how wide your nose is. Another thing that you can help determine by doing this process is if you make your iris, so let's just make like a simple iris. We're going to talk about this a little bit more. The iris is the colored part of your eye, and then you, of course, have your pupil, too. But your eyes are not that wide, obviously. They have some lids and stuff, because we'll talk about that later. But if you were to kind of go to the inside of this iris, and you make a line straight down, it's actually going to bring you to the edge of your mouth. That's another item I see people make too small. They give themselves a really tiny mouth. If you were to take the middle of your eye, the kind of edge of your iris, and go straight down, you're going to find the very edge of your lips. So create a line to show the edge of the lip. If you want to draw a simple lip too, you can. It's not really required, but if you want to go in and really... We'll talk more about drawing the features tomorrow. If I see you tomorrow, I can't remember the schedule tomorrow. And again, this is generalized. It doesn't have to look exactly like me. I'm just trying to get you guys to understand those universal proportions. From a side, these angles will still be true. Couple other things I want to cover with you too. The neck. So your head, a typical human head of like an adult or like a young person even, is about 8 pounds. That's like pretty heavy, right? So oftentimes I see my students giving themselves these tiny little necks, and it looks ridiculous. And there's no way that would hold up your head. Your neck is pretty wide. It's almost as wide as the base of your, where your chin is and your jaw. The neck typically comes up right below, if you feel where your ears are, your neck is right there, right? So your neck needs to be a decent thickness to be able to support your head. Do not make it too thin. It typically starts at the base of the ear and it has a soft curve to it. It is not like a spaghetti string, right? So when I'm practice making a neck, you can look at your own neck. And again, typically it starts at the base of the ear. It kind of comes in a little bit. And it has a little curve to it, right? So give yourself a little neck if you can squeeze it in there. Another item I want you to examine today, and even if you're in class right now, you can do this with your mask on, is the eyebrow. A lot of times people make the eyebrow really tiny, like too short, or they make it just kind of like, they give themselves like a shapeless eyebrow. And obviously, many of us we actually go and we shape our eyebrows to be a certain way, but the natural shape of an eyebrow, and even, if you shape your eyebrows, it's likely that your eyebrow has an arch to it, right? So as you see here, your eyebrow kind of follows. If you were to feel where your eyebrow is, you actually have an arch there where your kind of forehead starts. So your eyebrow kind of follows the shape of that arch on your face. And it follows the eye. It shouldn't be shorter than the eye. So I'd say practice drawing the eyebrow and show where the eyebrow goes. It has a gentle curve, and typically it should stretch the length of the entire eye. So right now I don't want you to worry about making your eyebrow like the perfect shape necessarily, but I want you to make it long enough. So placement is really what I'm going for. And give it a curve, because the eyebrows are not just straight on the face. They're not just like this, right? Unless you've like got some really funky eyebrows. The eyebrow typically has a curve to it that follows the eye. Because your face is not flat. So even if your eyebrow doesn't have a ton of like shape to it, it still has a curve to it, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. And it has some kind of arch to it, most likely. Well, that eyebrow got a little funky. So again, it should follow the length of your eye. The last thing I want to talk about today, and we'll probably work on this for the remaining part of class here, is I want you to try to figure out your hair. So obviously I have different hair than you might have. If you're a gentleman, you might have, or even a lady, you might have shorter, some of you might have shorter hair. Some of you might have longer hair. Some of you might have curly hair. So I don't want you to worry too much about like the texture or shape of your hair right now. But what I do want you to focus on is the placement of the hair. That's another thing that I see my students doing incorrectly. If you look at my hair, it actually comes way down, right? My bangs come down to here. Even if you're not sporting bangs, your hairstyle does not start at the tippy top of your head. So that's another thing I see people doing incorrectly. Like they'll do like this. Right? Even if you have your hair parted to the side, that's like a balding person right now, okay? None of you have hair like that. So typically, even if you have your hair at a part, your hairline is going to come down to like here. It will start pretty low on the face, right? And for me, my hair comes down even further. So try to show your hairstyle the best that you can and where it starts on your face. Again, typically the hair comes down your hairline, where you see it, you're going to at least see it about halfway down, right? Your hairline. And then if you have bangs, your hair is going to come down even further. So if if my hair was parted in the middle, I might see it like this, right? And the hair has volume. It doesn't just sit flat on the head. Even if you have hair that's a little bit flatter, it's not completely flat on the head. So it puffs out from the head a little bit, as you can see here, right? Even if you're somebody who has a short haircut, so let's say I had a short, cropped haircut, it's still going to, I don't have a bald head, right? Unless you have a completely shaved bald head, your hair is going to have some volume to it. So, to show your hair, if you had a shorter haircut, you might look at the direction of it, and maybe some of your hair goes this way. It fluffs off the head a little bit, so you can use texture to show that if you want to, or you can just use line, right? So it's going to kind of come off the head a little bit. So for the last 10 minutes of class, I want you to kind of work on your hair just loosely. It doesn't have to look exactly like your hair, but kind of think about what's the texture of the hair, what's the shape of the hair, how much does it come off the head. Unless you're completely bald, it's going to have some volume, and it's not going to start up here, okay? Once you are done, you are going to photograph this and upload it. I don't think I'll have it due tomorrow. I'll have it due I'll have this and the other one due, I don't know, Friday or something. But this is essentially what you're going to be uploading. So I'm going to take my attendance now, and I am going to pause this video. I guess I'll upload the video if you'd like to see it too.